unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty.
Coming up on Valley News Live at 6, a jury finds Derek Chauvin guilty on all 3 charges. Our team coverage includes the latest from Minneapolis.
Plus, we'll have reaction to the verdicts from activists with the local Black Lives Matter group.
And what's next? We'll hear from Minnesota's governor on today's verdict. Valley News Live at 6 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 6.
Crowds in Minneapolis reacting to the jury's verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial.
Derek Chauvin was found guilty on second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter.
All 3 counts combined carry up to 75 years in prison. Sentencing has now been slated for 8 weeks from now. We're taking a live look in Minneapolis right now. The crowd celebrating the guilty verdict. People in front of the Hennepin County Courthouse at the site where not at the site, but they are also celebrating as well at the site where George Floyd was killed.
Elected officials across the state and country are reacting to today's verdict. A statement released from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz reads in part, "Today's verdict is an important step forward for justice in Minnesota. The trial is over, but our work has only begun."
The governor added that accountability in the courtroom is just the first step, and true justice for George Floyd only comes through real systemic change to prevent this from happening again. He's expected to speak on the verdict this evening. We'll be streaming it on our website at valleynewslive.com. Now, today's verdict has reached every corner of the country. It has sparked a great deal of conversation on our Facebook page, which you can join.
Soon after the verdict was read, members of the local group Black Lives Matter gathered at NDSU. And that's where we find Valley News Team's Nishay Taylor live with more. Nishay?
Yeah, Andrea and Mike, I'm here at an open forum inside the Memorial Union where many of the local activists are attending this forum to speak up on issues that are impacting them. Those same activists were outside banding together after the verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial, including Faith Dixon. She was there and she mentioned to us how much she was feeling in that moment. She even embraced many of the individuals that were there. It was completely emotional at that moment. She even took time to express how she was feeling.
It took all of this for justice to finally be served. I'm just a loss for words today.
Now, even though she's at a loss for words, she says that there's still much more that needs to be done. She also mentioned that it will take accountability for that to happen. Now, as I mentioned before, we are still unclear whether or not any other events are happening today, but stay tuned with Valley News Live at 9 and 10 for an update on what's happening on this. Back to you guys.
Thanks so much, Nishay.
Last year, the Fargo-Moorhead area was caught up in the sweeping protests, even a riot surrounding the death of George Floyd. It led to substantial damage and several arrests.
Could it happen again following today's verdicts? Valley News Team's Aaron Walling is in the studio after speaking with numerous local businesses about the possibility. Aaron?
Well, Mike, Andrea, the main point that businesses made to me is they are taking a sit-tight approach and waiting to see what happens. One store owner even told me that they haven't paid any attention to the trial at all. Businesses like Vinyl Taco and JL Beers were vandalized during the protests that turned violent in downtown Fargo surrounding the death of George Floyd. For the stores that sustained damage, it didn't take long for folks in the area to respond with brooms and tools to fix and clean up the pieces. All in all, Fargo PD arrested 18 during the riot. I contacted the local police departments. Moorhead PD said we have emergency operations in place for all sorts of situations, but nothing specific to the Chauvin trial. West Fargo police say they are in contact with their law enforcement partners to stay up to date on information. Fargo PD said they will continue to work with regional law enforcement agencies to monitor for any threats. They added that they respect every person's right to peacefully assemble and are prepared to work collaboratively with the community to keep residents safe. Now, Fargo Public Schools announced that they have provided resources for schools in regards to the trial. Using guidelines from the University of Minnesota, they are asking staff members to recognize and validate students' emotional needs, acknowledge their own self-limitations, and provide supports as needed. I also spoke with the North Dakota National Guard, which, if the governor calls on them, they are ready to go. We reached out to the Fargo City Hall and have not heard back from them yet on any precautionary plans. Mike?
All right. Thanks, Aaron. And it should be noted that so far there have been no reports of any trouble in the streets in the wake of today's verdicts.
On this chilly Tuesday, some good news from Hutch on both warmer weather and precipitation. He joins us now with a look at our evening forecast. Hutch?
Andrea, thanks so much. Good evening, everyone. It's another cloudy and cold day across the valley as we take a look at some snow that actually covered the road's edge in the Highway 11 area of Ashley. So along that South Dakota border there was a quick shot of some moderate to heavy snow shower activity. Here is a look at the Grand Forks area, and there are some clouds yielding a few snowflakes heading into Grand Forks right now. Here's what it looks like on radar. East Grand Forks all the way up to Park River and Grafton, seeing some passing snow showers. The heavier batch moving into the Watertown area. You see that counterclockwise swirl of the clouds as they work their way through Aberdeen and into Watertown, where you see the dark blues and even the whites, some big flakes. These will briefly cover grassy areas south on I-29. Those are exiting our area, but snow showers remain in the forecast this evening as temperatures will be in the 30s. In Fargo, passing clouds in the 20s by bedtime. We cannot say no to the chance of snow as we go through the overnight hours, but we do have warmer weather to talk about, and as Andrea alluded to, I'll tell you about that chance of some much needed moisture in the forecast here coming up in a few moments.
Okay, Hutch, thank you.
A Barnesville, Minnesota teacher is on leave from his teaching and coaching duties after being arrested over the weekend. Stuart Brandt was arrested on Saturday after a fight with his roommate. Court documents say that he shoved her, grabbed her arms and neck, and punched her. Brandt has been employed by the school district for 2 years and works as an elementary Phi Ed teacher, head wrestling coach, and junior high baseball coach.
A juvenile male is facing several charges after allegedly assaulting 2 people in the Fargo South High School parking lot. A female student alerted the school resource officer about the incident after school on Friday. Police say the officer asked the male, who knew the female, to leave campus, but he refused and allegedly began assaulting the female and another male student. The officer used his taser and the juvenile was arrested. School officials say he is not a student with Fargo Public Schools. The officer had to deploy his taser, as we mentioned. The juvenile arrested. He's facing 2 counts of assault, preventing arrest, violation of a protection order, and disturbance of a public school. School leaders say, again, he's not a Fargo Public Schools student.
North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum has signed the so-called Stand Your Ground bill into law. The new law expands those self-defense laws by removing what's called the duty to retreat. Advocates say the Castle Doctrine, which allows deadly force only within one's home, didn't go far enough in self-defense rights. The governor said that he'll protect always the Second Amendment rights and our state's constitutional right to keep and bear arms for the defense of their person, family, property, and the state. North Dakota joins nearly 40 other states with similar laws.
Fans of country music now have a new television network that's just for them. Later on Valley News Live at 6, how you can get access to the channel that features everything country.
A few snow showers as we head into the evening and overnight, but warmer air is on the way and some much needed rain could impact our western counties. I'll have latest in your hour-by-hour forecast right after this.